Well, thank you, Hazel. Very good evening, everyone. Once again, what a reception.
Thank you, frame 9. Stuart Bingham to break.
For both players here. As Hazel said, this is Act 2 of 4. And Stuart has played a pretty good break-off shot. Not bad at all. Now Shaun staying, he spotted something. He's still standing in his corner. Not sure what it is, but he's waiting for someone to settle. He spotted someone. Now whether it's in the crowd or he's having a smile, whoever it is. I think it was the scoring screen, but he had a little smile about it. We're ready for action now. Fascinating session this, Willie. And Stuart Bingham, lots of family here to watch him, and that's Shay with his wife Michelle there. And what a lovely little boy he is, and Michelle's delightful as well. And there's Mum and Dad, Eddie and Maureen there. And I'm sure Maureen was giving a little whistle for Stuart when he came out, and quite rightly so.
Position on the black.
1.
Then taking this black, he can move the red. Just watch this one again. Right into the middle of the pocket. And he couldn't have placed it better by hand to be on that black to move the red out of the way.
8.
Once again, our directors put one red,
No.
one black. What do you think, Dennis?
Well, he has done it on 3 occasions, a magical maximum break. I think the directors only had 1 maximum though.
16.
Do you know how many you've commentated on dead maximums?
I have been so lucky. I think I've done, Ronnie's made 11. I think I've done 9 of them.
I think I've only done about 3. So won't be one over this break.
Mr. Maximum.
Oh.
Well, it should be Mr. Minimum now.
Yeah, but listen, I want to buy that T-shirt.
$23.
We mentioned in the pre-match interval or the post-match interview, John and I, when we were talking about this session this afternoon, Stuart Bingham would have been absolutely delighted to have got out of the session 4-4, having trailed 3-0.
But they both, Willie, didn't they? They won their frames virtually with 1 visit. I mean,
31.
they had 105 from Stuart. Shaun's highest was 90, but you know, his other breaks, he had a 68, 59, 65. The standard was very good indeed. And we all thought that Stuart maybe might be feeling a little tired, but he did sleep for 4 hours and he has looked very focused, but you don't really need that much sleep when you're playing in the final of a world champion. The adrenaline keeps you going.
Took the risk there. It was the old famous flat back pack there. He did very well to get through them.
39.
That spin on the cue ball pushed it through the pack. Unlikely, that is, when you got a flat back pack to get the spin to push through them. Usually you only get on one in the middle pocket. This time, as you can see in a few seconds' time, he's got one into the corner.
Thank you. 40.
Well, what a fantastic start for Stuart in this opening frame of this evening session. He's looking for that magical 72 points to leave Shaun needing a snooker in this frame. That was a lovely opening shot. Not so much the pot, but how he got onto the black.
The way he's played that tells me the red at the top of the pyramid will pot. The fact that that's right on the pink spot as well helps. It's a big target to go into that little cluster of 4 if he gets top side of the pink. Making sure of the red, okay, with that one loose red. It wasn't so important that time that he played for the pink only to get the reds into play. He's got that one loose one he can play for.
Yeah, he's got an area he can play in somewhere near the circle. We'll leave that one. But what angle has he got on the yellow? Can he screw up past the pink to get there? Find out shortly. Yeah, that's pretty good, yeah.
57.
Wow. He did hit that pretty hard, but
Stuart Bingham, 57.
look where it stayed. The red he missed. Now, it did catch the left of the pocket, and it might have dropped in. He hadn't hit it quite so hard, but that was, you'd have to say, well, it would have been frame ball, but look where the whites finished. It wouldn't have finished there had he have potted it.
Wow.
Well, the best way to pot this would be to roll it in, being so close to the cushion, rather than trying to cannon the 2 reds. Just make sure of the pot. And he's okay. He's got a nice angle on this red to leave the black for the same
8.
pocket. I'm nearly certain he can stun that in. There's the old spats that Shaun wear, but he has an angle here.
9.
Yeah, that'll do.
$16. 17.
Stuart Bingham supporters will be a little worried now. Okay, there's 2 reds relatively safe on the side cushion. Stuart only led by 57 points before this break. This was the one that he came right across it and put a little bit of unwanted side on, and of course dual 8 times but didn't drop. But now the work starts after these next 2 reds for Shaun.
24.
There's one difficult red that's near the middle pocket. He's got an angle on the black. He might even think about it here, but no, that's in the way, so he'll concentrate on the Well, he has tried to move it. He was always going to have this one on the pink spot. It's slightly more difficult now, but he did try to
32.
just nudge that one over the middle pocket.
As he takes a breather, I just wonder whether he might play the red and play the cannon again, because you know he'll have the pink available. So he's played the cannon again, and this time he looks to be perfect. Very well played.
33.
Judged to perfection. Missed the cannon the last time, but he certainly didn't miss it that time. And what a frame this would be to pinch, because Stuart Bingham looked like he was going to get himself into the lead for the very first time in the
39.
final, until he wobbled that red. But there's still plenty to do here. And that looks to be perfect. He can screw over behind that last red. And he's definitely one of the best players I've ever seen with the
40.
rest. He's got to pull a shot out here. He is unbelievable with the rest.
47.
He's potted 7 out of 7 so far. Stuart's potted 9 out of 9. Well, what an opening frame.
54.
He's very disappointed though, Stuart. Just hit that red he missed. Didn't cue it at all nicely.
56.
He could have taken the lead for the first time. It doesn't look like it's going to happen now.
Not often you make a 65 break and lose a frame, but that looks like it could be a distinct possibility. In fact, it was a 57 break he had in this frame, and this was the red that wobbled.
$63.
Well, this could be a fabulous session of snooker where both players have started.
68.
He's looking about with a good. Stuart Bingham had a break of 57. He looked like he was going to score enough to take the frame. He didn't, and Shaun Murphy pounced. And he finished with that break of 74, and he gets himself 5-4 in front.
And we're very lucky because we've got a grandstand view of it here in a little bubble studio. We moved in here on Thursday at the start of the semi-finals. Before that, we were in Sheffield's Winter Gardens. It is now home to BBC radio programming. In fact, a certain Steve Davis was on Jarvis Cocker's 6 music programme earlier on today. But Ken Bruce is warming up right now for his show, BBC Radio 2, from 9:30 in the morning, and he just can't stay away. He's here already with John.
He certainly is, Hazel. It's absolutely brilliant to me. It's nice to put the face to the voice of radio.
I'm sorry about the face. It's all I've got left, but it'll have to do for the time being, I'm afraid, Judd.
Now, you've come down early. Are you a big snooker fan?
I do love my snooker, and what I love is the personalities around snooker. I mean, the game itself, it's interesting. You can follow it, and it's, you know, there's a lot of sort of chess-like moves in snooker. There's a lot for everybody, but it's the personalities I like to see. The guys behind the cue.
Who's your favourite player?
Well, you're here, but I won't make you blush. But of course, it's got to be Steve Davis, hasn't it?
Oh, OK, Ken, thanks. Now, tomorrow you've got Dennis Taylor and you've got me and Steve on Popmaster.
You and Steve are playing Popmaster against each other. I know he knows his stuff a little bit, and you're fairly good at it, aren't you?
I don't know about that, but I don't think there's anybody watching, Ken. You know, if you don't mind taking hold of...
Oh, you want I'll look at the question.
If you just drop me the questions. And, that sorted Davis out good and proper.
Shaun Murphy breaking off. And with Ken's hairstyle, you think he'd perhaps like me as a player, Dennis, really.
This is a tough shot, but both these players very rarely refuse a half chance like this. Played it in such a way that he may be covering everything, but I think that red that's to the right of the blue might pass the yellow, maybe not. Nothing goes into the left corner. Well, I say nothing goes. It looks like everything's covering each other. Nothing available there. I'm not too sure if this one passes the yellow. Obviously doesn't. So, interesting. Looks to be enough room there. That's certainly opened the reds up. Black's tied up though.
He's got the red to the right, extreme left of the pink that he can play very fine, or the one directly behind it, but both of which are fraught with danger, because if he makes contact with the yellow on the way back, the red will be available into the middle. So he may decide to take a pot on here just as a containing shot, or even play the white at this end of the table. Yeah, didn't want to risk anything. Don't blame him at all for that.
Tell you what, he's found a good white there. Look at that, the yellow blocking one red, the brown blocking another. Yeah. That was very well judged. I was just starting to think that's what he's looking at. I was starting to think this was going to be one of those awkward frames where the reds were going to be sent up to the baulk end of the table, but that shot that Shaun picked out was a little beauty.
Take a little bit of time to study what's happening here, just coming up to a minute, and at first glance I can't see a way he can get back into baulk.
Well, there is a possible escape route there onto that red, but he'd have to be so precise with that.
And also play with loads of side down, but it is on, and I don't know, would he be worried about drifting by that red and maybe kissing into the black, but I think that's as good a choice as any.
So if he tries to come thin off the left side of the reds, he would have to be so precise. There is another shot on a red where he could leave the white over the right side of the table and just send it through a gap. And that might be what he's trying. Yep. But he's brought the red with it. But it's not that bad because the black is tied up. And it would take some shot to get onto the pink, really.
Yes, he could find himself snookered here if he just plays to get onto the pink in the middle. that red that's going to be in the way. Just coming to have a little look. He's looking now to see if he can play a run through with side and kiss both those reds at the same time. If he does get that kiss right, he will be on the black, but surely the safest shot would be to play for the pink, you'd think.
Well, he's got a long straight red, the one he's queuing up at now. And if he pots that, he'd be on the pink. No.
Didn't miss any of those in the first few days of this championship.
He had to just make sure of that pot. He didn't want to force it. He's not perfect on the blue. I mean, at that angle there, you've got to be spot on. So just a slightly more difficult blue than he would have liked.
This is his 10th shot with the rest, so this could be 10 out of 10 should it go in. But it isn't. Always difficult when you're playing to screw them in. The side tends to push in. Looked in for a moment, didn't it? Pink available into one pocket only at the moment, and I'm not too sure. Having potted the pink, will it go back onto its own spot or on the blue spot? That makes a big difference.
Well,
Yeah, the pink's on its own spot, so the pink will still be available into the same pocket as he's playing into now. So, fairness now, this is a good chance for Shaun.
seven. Eight. $14. $15.
Stuart had an excellent chance in the first frame, as we've seen. He's had a chance in this frame where he missed the blue. And of course, at this level, you've got to make every chance of winning one. You're happy if you get one chance a game, Dennis, aren't you, normally?
Well, I think the way Shaun won that opening frame after Stuart had a 57 break and wobbled the red, clear up with 74. I mean, he's a very confident player anyway, and he's played unbelievable snooker throughout
21.
this year's World Championship, but that will give him an extra little boost. And you can see he's marching around the table with authority at the moment, and quite rightly so. That's the tournament pot success rate, both on 89%.
22.
But he keeps so still on the shot. We've said it many times. He really does. And the way he pauses and delivers the cue, it's a delight to watch.
$29.
How easy did he make that look? Played with the reverse side. You can see it hitting the cushion and spinning off up the table to leave himself perfect on the pink.
Now indicate up to the one that pots into the yellow pocket now.
35.
He may have to just take both those reds and that in the table at the minute, because the second red he was playing of these two up there He'd like to leave an angle to get back onto the pink, because it's tough to get onto that red that's just above the black in a couple of shots' time. That's certainly the key
36.
red. Every other red looks to be stopped by another red. So nice angle on this last red. This next red is essential. Got to be able to get onto the pink off this red.
$39. 40.
Yeah, just the one red is between the pink and black that's available. Well, is he going to risk bringing that black into play here?
46.
Should be okay. That definitely freed the black, but
47.
he played for the pink to guarantee that he wouldn't run out of position. So there's nothing wrong with his thinking at the moment. He's thinking very clearly out there.
Yes, I like that shot, Dennis. As you rightly mentioned, it would be risky playing to make sure you get on the black. At least knowing the way he played it, it was guaranteed to be on the pink. Of course, the black's now free, so without doubt, this is a frame-win opportunity again.
53.
Murphy led 3-0, then was pegged back to 4-4. He started well again.
Yeah, that shot there just gives you an indication.
54.
I was just about to say before that round of applause, that last shot give you the indication of how big the snooker table is. But this is terrific to watch, it really is.
61.
Well, we're only 2 centuries away from breaking the record or equaling the record. It's 83 at the moment. Shaun Murphy's at 11 at the moment.
Yeah, Neil Robertson's
69.
on 11 centuries as well, so one good pot along the cushion. It might be in the other. It might be in. It's in. It's in.
70.
Stuart would have probably come back to the table there. Needed 2 snookers at the time. I'm sure he won't necessarily begrudge Shaun a century. Thorbear made a 147 off that kind of shot, didn't he?
And Cliff is here for the final with a couple of pals from
78.
Canada, and it was a similar type shot. He planted another red in and made the first ever maximum break at the Crucible.
Break goes to 80.
80. $81.
He made a lovely break in the first frame of 74, but in this break he's been a little bit shaky.
Is there such a thing as a shaky century, Willie?
88.
This may be the first.
89.
Well, that kicked, but it hasn't affected the outcome.
92. 94.
Yeah, He won't need the blue, which is slightly awkward, just the green and brown for the century.
97.
Very well done, Shaun Murphy. The tip-up signs going up around the auditorium.
101.
He's 12th. He now takes the lead in the centuries made at the Crucible this year. And once again,
106.
mind you, this might be the first rest shot he misses. And it was, what a shame, but excellent start from Shaun Murphy, 74 in the first frame, a magnificent 106 in the second. He's gone 2 clear again at 6-4.
As Willie says, it's his 12th of the championship, and that's the 82nd in total here at the Crucible. We're only one shy of the record in 2009, 83. And you've got to say, John and Steve, that looks very, very much in danger now, doesn't it?
It's going to go. It's got to. The two good players here who are heavy scorers. And that was a magnificent break from Shaun Murphy. They had a fluke in the middle of the thing, but the rest of it was just beautifully conceived. And there was one shot in particular in there which I absolutely loved. And it shows you that he's thinking clearly. I mean, there's plenty of players who have been playing this just to try and nudge the red out, take the chance that on the black. He didn't take that chance. He played it full-bloodedly. Moved the reds across the table, played on the pink. Couldn't hit that any better.
And it's so important to stress that after 16 days here, and they've been playing every other day, and indeed for Shaun, really since last Saturday, this is the time when heads get a little befuddled with the pressure of the situation at times.
Yes, they can do, but obviously the other way to look at it, and I suppose it depends on what scenario you're in your own head, but it's another day in the office. It's another day after so many days of playing that you're used to the equations and what happens out there. And I think if you can get in that zone, the game becomes easier, and that's why the standard usually gets better in the semi-final and finals. I think the players really tune in.
Well, it's taken 13 minutes and 16 minutes, and he now has a 2-frame advantage.
Yeah, both these players are, as they say, in the zone. They've got through to the final playing some unbelievable snooker, and you just carry on playing like that until the tournament finishes. Tiredness doesn't really play a part at this stage. It was interesting last night. Shaun was in the practice room at 10 to 10 while Stuart and Judd were battling out that unbelievable semi-final, one of the best matches I've ever commentated on.
Certainly my best one, Dennis, and I thought the Hawkins-Robertson game would take some beating. But to make 4 centuries in the last 6 frames is just quite amazing, and with the tension that would have been. Come round to see if the black is available, which tells us he's likely to take one of these 2 reds on. Both reds can get onto the black. It just depends which one he favours. He's taking the left on one of the 2. Just be running around 2 cushions trying to get onto the black. Phone the police. He's missed one.
Well, now that he has missed it, he might be in his seat for a while, because there's a chance for Stuart to come right back at him after that century break. It's not straightforward at the moment. There's, what, 3 reds to the left available. Couple around the black spot available, but it's one of those where you can't just get down, knock the blue in and hope you finish on one. That's nicely played, that.
6.
I think it's very important for Stuart to knock in a sizable contribution here, just to come back at Shaun after that 74 clearance to pinch the opening frame, and then the 106. Didn't want to let Shaun open up a 3-frame advantage.
Just a little too straight on this black. He was trying to finish low on the black so he could move the middle red of the 3. Can't do that now. They're just trying to screw on and off the cushion. You can see that red's available into the same pocket as the black, but he hasn't got too much of a gap. So he may have to play one in the middle first, but he will try to get on that. Now it depends what kind of cannon he gets here. And that's not the one he wanted.
14.
I think he's ran out of position completely there, so needed a little bit more pace. I think he possibly was trying to maybe cannon the middle red there, but look at that, covered everything. Well, that was risky. I mean, he won
Stuart Bingham,
3 or
14.
4 frames with taking plants on in his semi-final against Judd, but that was quite a risky one. There's a bit of distance between them there. How costly is that going to be?
One.
Well, this is where it's difficult for a player to go
8.
back and sit down, and here's the plant. I think because he ran slightly out of position, he thought, well, I'm just going to take the plant on, but now he's sitting there thinking, maybe I shouldn't. Yeah, it was the
9.
shot before where he ran out of position that caused the problems. Just didn't seem to get. I don't think he'd made his mind up. He would have had a lot of side to spin past that, and he didn't know whether to cannon or red. He just probably hadn't decided exactly what way to play that.
Well, he faced a 3-frame deficit after
15.
the first 3 frames of the match. Looks like he's having that bad start again with a chance of going 3 behind again.
16.
Mind you, there's a little bit of work to do here, Shaun. About after the next 2 reds, and the second black after these 2 reds is going into the bunch. So he'd probably like to go into the bunch after this red.
23.
You just come round there to have a little look. It's all about missing the red that's just above the black. If he'll try and get on the black 3/4 ball and then play into the bunch.
24.
It's perfect. Now he'd like to hit the joint of those 2 reds directly above the black. Now you never normally play with a screw, but this shot time he has to play with a screw just to flick it away from the pack. So he's hit the 2 reds with screw, absolutely inch perfect. If that red hadn't been where it was, he wouldn't have played it that way and have stunned up into them. But because
31.
he could play exactly the joint, look, right in the joint, well, a little bit full, but at least he got the screw shot there. Brilliant.
And look how they're placed now. Looking for 72 points to leave
32.
Stuart needing a snooker, and really he's starting to buzz here is Shaun Murphy. He really is. And I think that opening frame has given him the confidence to go on and play like this. He's always going to play attacking snooker, but at the moment
39.
he just looks awesome out there. And he's marching around that table with a purpose.
Thank you. 40.
Got a little bit of a fly off the cushion that time.
47.
He's trying to finish low on the red behind the black. Behind the pack of reds, I should say, but the one above pots as well.
48.
And I don't want to put the commentator's curse on it, but I mean, he just doesn't look like he can miss at the moment. It's that red going to the left of the black has tied it up slightly, but it's not going to really matter because of the way the reds are, and he's got the blue on its spot.
Yes, and 35 minutes
54.
ago we were talking about Stuart Bingham taking the lead for the first time in this match. Some 35 minutes later, Shaun Murphy looks like winning the first 3 frames of the evening session.
57. 58. 65. 66.
'If he could go on and make a century here, that will equal that
73.
83 centuries that was made back in 2009.
74.
Oh, it slipped past the red. Can he see a colour? Can he see the yellow? Does the blue
Blue.
pass the yellow? The blue passes the yellow. What a shot this would be. Get in. Have a look at that little beauty.
79.
What a shot on the blue that was.
80.
Hardly hit it, and have a look at the action he got on this. Superb.
And that excellent positional shot gets the pink back at this end as well. So now the century looks almost assured.
86. 87.
And it will be 13 centuries for Shaun if he can knock a few more balls in. So that's a 74 break in the opening frame after Stuart had made 57.
94.
106 in the last frame. Just the green and brown
96.
for the 83rd century.
99.
Doesn't get any better than this. It really doesn't. Fantastic. Shaun Murphy.
103.
Brilliant. Turn up again. Turn up at the Crucible. And a little exhibition shot with lots of side on it.
108.
And he's potted all the colours, as you can see. It's all
114.
coming very easy for Shaun Murphy at the moment. He tried an exhibition. It's in! What a way to finish! Shaun Murphy.
121.
No wonder they call him the magician. That's another century break, and he extends his lead now to 7 frames to 4. That magic wand is certainly working this evening.
It sure is. They don't call him the magician for nothing, and that, as you've probably worked out, equals the record of 83. It's his 13th, and only Ronnie and Stephen Hendry and John Higgins have made more in one Crucible campaign. This is really phenomenal high scoring from this man now.
He's killing it. He really is. I mean, like, and once again, he's asked the questions of Stuart Bingham, and Stuart Bingham is just sort of all of a sudden started to panic a fraction, because in a situation early in the frame, he was in amongst the balls, but he got out of position and he talked himself into playing the plant, as if just a little bit of him saying, well, I may not get a better chance, I've messed it up, but I can still get this.
Yeah.
And perhaps it wasn't the right shot. I don't think he could actually see enough of it to get the plant properly.
How worrying is this now? Because for all the world, Shaun looks like he's got his mojo back. There was a little bit of subdued play about him this afternoon, wasn't there?
Yeah, and from 4-2 to 4-4, he gave a couple of chances he shouldn't have done. He took a couple of reds on as well as he was playing, but he's hitting it really fantastically now. This is a taxing period coming up for Stuart Bingham. He's 7-4 down. He's got to somehow get a foothold. There's a massive frame coming up because Shaun's bouncing around this place. I mean, he really does look like he's eating the balls at the moment. If he turns up, they're just gonna get demolished.
The record, incidentally, it is 16 made in one Crucible campaign by Stephen Hendry.
Thank you,
It was way
Frank.
back in 2002. John Higgins made
Shaun Murphy
14 in 1998. So he has in his sights all kinds of records, this man.
Well, let me say this. If he wins the World Championship, he will definitely break that record. Because in the next, say, 10 frames he has to win, or 11 frames he has to win, you'd think he'd have at least 2 or 3 centuries in that 11 frame burst. Should he go on to win it, of course.
Well, you heard it there from Willie. Stephen Hendry's 16 centuries is going to be beaten this year.
Up to 90% pot success rates now, when you consider he went through a little bit of a lull this afternoon, losing 4 of the last 5 frames of the session. Stuart Bingham came back this morning. He's going to have to do it again this evening, because all these mini sessions, you play them as a session. Can't afford to lose a session worse than 5-3.
Well, he did it. He lost the first 3 frames, and he came back in that mini session with a century break to be 3-1 behind. He needs to do it again. That's a good start. Shaun Murphy, 97% pot success rate this evening. But that is a little beauty he started with there.
Looks like Stuart's decided just to roll this and not risk playing a cannon to one of the reds. The 2 outside reds to the right of the pink pot in the corner, so he doesn't have to play a cannon this time. That's there, well played. That was a tough shot, especially when you've lost the opening 3 frames.
8.
Referee
16.
Olivier Martel doing a great job in the final so far.
17.
He was delighted when he was asked to referee the final. He's from Belgium. He's a delightful man. Works in a hospital there. Gets time off to referee snooker. And he's got his wife and daughter here, Anne and Manon. They were in this afternoon, and they're in again
24.
this evening there. And they must be so proud of Olivia.
Some key shots coming up. This is the
25.
first now. Once again, not a great pack. He could stick on these. Just wonder whether he's going to risk playing the cannon or won't play for a loose one. Well, there's your answer. Like I say, a horrible pack to go into that was. Just got the one out, which I'm sure will pass the blue.
30.
Lots of topspin. It's all about not hitting one full ball. He hit it half ball, which made the Reds move. Just watch that, just the spin there, and it arced. Now this red to keep the break going. Very well done. Having lost the first 3 frames, that was an excellent pot. There was a lot of pressure on that one.
He got a little bit closer to that red than he wanted. He may have to push through the pack here, playing with topspin. And he hasn't. He seemed
41.
to just quit on that a little bit. He needed to push the cue right through. It sort of finished up with a little stun effect. And now he's left with quite an awkward shot. And if he plays a safety shot, he's got to make sure he gets the cue ball tight on the ball cushion because of that red to the left.
I don't know whether they get a chance of seeing the last shot he played again, but he didn't seem to hit the cue ball high enough, Dennis. You know, when he was playing that run through there, he looked to be 3/4 of the way up the cue ball. When you play that kind of shot, you really got to get really high to make the
Stuart
spin
Bingham,
work.
41.
Let's just have a little look at this shot again. Now, you see, it didn't need to be hit that high to me. And the white came through a little bit dead, Dennis, don't you think?
Yeah, he just stopped a bit with the cue. He didn't. Well, that's what he thought of that shot. Throwing the old chalk in the air. Yeah, he just didn't follow through with the cue. I think that red that he was bridging there was a little bit of a distraction. Now, can Shaun Murphy see enough of this? Yeah, he can. He's taking it on. I couldn't see enough to pot it. He's played a pretty good safety. Acknowledged by Stuart Bingham. And he did, I think, in the opening frame when Shaun cleared up. You didn't see it, but Stuart tapped his knee in appreciation of Shaun's clearance. Well, how did he get through that gap? He's smiling, Stuart.
Foul.
Didn't seem to be enough room to get through there. Well, there should be a chalk mark on the cushion as we see a big smile from Stuart. Yeah, sometimes when you're on the cushion, you leave a chalk mark. So Olivia would have known where the ball was. Second time lucky. Not again. Not again. Well, now he's got to hit one.
Foul
Otherwise,
and
he'll
a
lose
miss.
the frame.
Shaun Murphy, 4.
Yeah, the referee will just tell Stuart, If you miss it this time, you lose the frame. This is where I always wanted to say you
Okay
get
with
down
that,
and you
Shaun?
miscue, Willie.
Got to warn you.
The only thing that
Not to
worries
hit
me,
the ball
Dennis,
on,
there
otherwise
is
you
that given the
force it.
warning, if he tries it this slightly thicker, because he might still play the same shot but slightly thicker, the enought's on. So now he is in trouble. I think he may have to play the one near the black spot, Dennis.
I'm wondering if he can play the one near the black and come around the back of the red. You know, that's on the black spot. If he hits it thick enough, he might be able to find the path around there. I think if he hits that one, he's got every chance of getting around. He might not necessarily go where I've finished, but he's not playing that, so he's going to have to be pretty precise with this roll up.
Hit that on the wrong side, really. He wanted to hit it on the left-hand side. His left choice of pots here that Shaun may or may not take on. But if he'd have left it on the left-hand side, there wouldn't have been anything on. But Shaun looking like he's going to play a safety.
He's got a good cue ball, but he's knocked one red onto another, which gives Stuart a free pot at that one to the right of the black.
Shaun will be very disappointed with the outcome of that shot, really. Okay, Stuart might miss this, but you shouldn't believe in these. He'd be very frustrated in a minute, Stuart, because he knows he could have won at least 2 of the opening 4 frames. He might still win this one, but he definitely should have won the first. Just wonder whether he's getting a little bit anxious.
He's hampered the one that's near the black. The yellow's in the way. So that was a useful kiss on the yellow there. I don't think the one to the left of the blue is on for the right corner. And even if it would pass, it would be quite a tough one. Well, there is enough room for that. And he may have to take it on. And he's lost 3 frames in a row this little mini session. If he loses all 4 and falls 4 behind, it's going to be difficult. So this is very awkward. Just the safety, no attempt there at the pot. That's what he's after there. Well, he's going over to the brown, which would probably be just as well, although I don't think he's got the snooker. Stuart can just see the ones to the right of the pink. Well, that's another miss.
Foul and a miss. Shaun Murphy 4.
He's not sighting it well down that side of the table, is he? That's 3 now. He's played to it and thin. Could be alignment, could be just the fact that he maybe flicking a little bit of an unintentional side on.
It's just he's got to hit it so thin, hasn't he, to get it back down the table. If it wobbles in the jaws of the pocket, he stays in amongst the reds.
Further back. Ball.
I think it was just a
The
bit
line.
near the...
Yeah, it might have been.
looks pretty good. Just check with the monitor. That's what they're looking at, and you can see there. Can he catch it thin enough this time?
That was the problem, Dennis. You called it because he's missed 3 balls on the trot. He aimed thicker there. And how costly will that be?
One.
Pinpoint accuracy again from Shaun Murphy, and Stuart detect just a little shake of the head there. He knows that this frame could be over very shortly, and he would have lost all 4 of this little mini session. But as Willie said, that one frame, the opening frame when he made 57 and wobbled the red, that was a big frame, because Shaun has been awesome ever since. This was the first frame of the opening session. He only needed a few more pots, put a quick one in, and it just didn't drop.
And on the break of 41 he made in this frame, he just didn't push through enough, did he, to get onto the black. So we're talking about 2 shots that would definitely cost him 2 frames, and we'd have been, you know, all square at the interval. We'd have been talking about 6 all. We're now looking at 8-4. This was the chance he had when he was going for possibly out of 1 eye on the 147, but he's got to take loads of topspin and force it through. Didn't quite go through.
15.
Well, if he does lose this, he'll probably go to the practice room, and his coach Steve Finney will be there, his manager Gary Perkis. They'll have a chat with him, and still an awful long way to go. Meanwhile, Shaun ran
60.
slightly out of position, so this frame far from over just yet. Yeah, they will have a little chat, and the mid-session interval can change things around.
Not too sure whether they can hit this slow enough to get onto the red in the right-hand middle. Yeah, Shaun's looking a little bit further around the table, so he probably doesn't think he can hit it slow enough either. Well, he's played it slow enough. Is it slow enough? It doesn't look too bad.
Well, the way he's played that, that's
20.
a sign of a player full of confidence. Played a poor positional shot, but just got down and knocked the brown out as if it was over the pocket. Just got into it too much to cannon the brown.
21. $26.
Stuart Bingham's lead is now only 3. That is now 2.
27.
You can see the perfect angle on this black now to nudge into them. Once again, it hits the joint of those 2 just above the black. He'll be pushing one over the right middle, one over the left middle. Absolutely perfect. Couldn't fail to get on one in the middle, but he's pushed it a little bit too far.
I was just thinking there, as we show you the shot, you can see the spin taking effect, but he's knocked it too far. So there's a little bit left in this frame just yet. He's only 5 points in front. Had he got that split as he intended, he would have taken the frame. This is not easy. And that tells you that he's not even going to attempt that red. He could only drop that in the middle pocket, so he wouldn't be on a colour nicely. Now we have an interesting
Shaun Murphy, 34.
final frame of this little mini session. One good split here, and he would have taken another frame, you would have felt.
He's to miss the baulk colours. It's amazing how they've always been there, and it's amazing how big they are when you're trying to get back into baulk. Shaun can play the one to the right of the pink and play it as a shot to nothing. The yellow would be the ball he'd be trying to get on here because he's trying to get a good white. Doesn't miss many of those, does he? And there's the yellow waiting for him because he'd knocked it there at the time. Well, Stuart knocked it there.
One.
But look at where the white's finished, just in case he'd missed it. He played it as a shot to nothing. But now it's a shot for something.
Yeah, he's as good as any player in the game at that type of shot.
Three.
There's no need for Stuart to start panicking yet, of course. Just got to stay in this match, and like I say, if you can get out of this session, he'd be thinking, now I've got to get out of it 5-3 at the worst.
Mind you, Shaun Murphy 4 frames in front playing like this. It's going to be tough for Stuart.
$11.
He's missed precious little this evening, will he?
Yes, so he won all the 3 previous frames in one visit. He's needed 2 visits this time. He was 41 behind and then made a break of 34, broke down, played an excellent safety shot. This time he's in with 17 and counting, which puts him 22
70.
in front. So red colour, yellow, and it will be 4-0 in this mini session.
18.
Stuart Bingham's already got his towel in his hand. He knows it, or he feels that Stuart Bingham has got Shaun Murphy's going to clear from here.
24.
Now he knows the interval can turn things around. But this has been
26.
an awesome display from the 2005 world champion.
It could have easily been tall, Dennis, couldn't it,
29.
this session? It was only 2 shots away from being tall. That's the fine margins these top-class players are playing to now. Didn't quite go according to
33.
plan. Little wry smile. Little raise of the eyebrows.
38.
But he is queuing so well. Might be a bit of an exhibition shot now. 4 cushions to get onto the black. Oh, he's played that. Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, he played that. Because he did it hard enough for that not to happen. That was brilliant. Well, he needed 2 chances, 34 and 51 to clear. Shaun Murphy wins all 4 of the remaining 4 frames this evening and goes into the interval, leading by 8 frames to 4.
And in the blink of an eye, there is clear blue water between these 2 men, and these are disconcerting times for Bingham fans, John.
Oh, it's like trying to hold a tiger by the tail at the minute. It really is. He's playing that well. Every single time a chance comes up, he's clearing the table. He's bouncing around the place, looks in total control, got his mojo back.
He has. Steve, from Stuart's perspective, how frustrating a session is that? Because as Willie says, he did have his chances there, but was eventually just blown away.
Well, you look back to the first frame of this evening, and he was in amongst the balls, and he played that red. He had to play it with a bit of power to get the cue ball back out for the blue, and it wobbled. I don't know how many times in the pocket. It was very, very accurate. Any softer, the ball would have gone in, but he wouldn't have had the position. So he probably feels a bit aggrieved that that ball didn't drop, even though it wasn't bang in the centre. And all of a sudden, a chasm's open up in his mind, probably. A good time for the interval, perhaps, to regroup mentally. But what do? Do you go to the practice table? I suppose that's inevitable. And you need some help from your friends and coach and everybody around you.
In percentage terms, we all watched last night's incredible victory over Judd Trump. In percentage terms, from Bingham's point of view, where is he in comparison with last night?
He's down, isn't he? He's just making mistakes positionally, and it doesn't take much. And unfortunately, if the other guy is firing like Shaun Murphy is, he just opens up the wound.
It's not really missing a lot, is it? You know, he's missing. No. He's like he had the position shot, didn't run through the pack. Then he's played the plant he know he shouldn't be playing, and it's just because he feels as if that chance was there to take. So he's not far off what it is, but it's a chasm because of his opponent playing so well.
Exactly. OK, well, they're going to have to think about that, and it'll be interesting to see what Stuart actually does, whether he does go to the practice room or not. But Shaun Murphy, as you probably know, is trying to do what the late, great Alex Higgins did in 1972 and 82, and that's to win 2 world titles 10 years apart. Shaun turned up here in 2005 as a 22-year-old qualifier who absolutely swept everybody away en route to his first world title. And I think most people assumed it would be the start of the Murphy era at the Crucible. But a decade on, he's still waiting. He's been speaking to John.
When I look back at 2005, I can't really remember much of it. And I suppose because I fared so badly in the 2009, I can't really remember much about that either. I think because I was so young, it perhaps didn't mean as much as it would do now at my age.
You came under the radar in that first win. What did that do for you, for your outlook of the game, and for the goals and ambitions that you set yourself?
Do you know, I think if I could have my time back, I probably would have postponed the 2005 win for a few years, because I think it made me set probably quite unrealistic goals for myself. My view of the game was perhaps a bit skewed. You know, at 22, I was probably nowhere near ready to win this championship. And then when I inevitably fell short, it made me feel quite negative and bad about myself. So I'd like to go back in a time machine, tell myself just to chill out a bit and keep on playing.
So how different is it going into this final now when you'd be perceived as probably the favourite for the championship?
I guess at 32 and I've been around for a little while now, that's perhaps to be expected a little bit. But you know, one of the things I've learnt recently and doing quite well at the moment is staying in the now and not getting ahead of yourself, thinking about even shots down the line, matches down the line, what it means, all of that stuff. Just thinking about the shot that's in front of you, thinking about what you're faced with, and keeping all that other stuff out of the equation.
Going back to the very beginning, your parents bought your first table. Why snooker? Where did that interest come from?
You know, I've got no idea why they chose snooker. No idea. I asked for a Commodore 64 computer. All my mates had one, and it was what I wanted. And I walked down and found this snooker table there, and I thought, well, what's that? Well, who ordered that? But I got on the table and absolutely fell in love with it straight away.
Your dad was a pro golfer, so what influence has having a professional sportsman in your life had on your outlook towards sport and what it takes to be the best?
I think one of the things I was very lucky with my very early years as a snooker player was that because my dad had had a career in golf, he knew what it took to achieve higher than, you know, your average player. And so, you know, I was very, very lucky that I had somebody in my camp who knew the right things to do. I didn't always want to do them, as no kid does. But he was very, very good at explaining to me just how important those extra hours were at the club. You know, when you think you've done enough, do some more. When you think everyone else is going out, go practicing. If you want to be the best, you've got to put the time in, and he was right.
Now, you had a different upbringing to many kids because you were homeschooled, weren't you? So what sort of part did snooker play in your life growing up?
Yeah, I left school at 13 I did maths and English from home. I was homeschooled, all so that I could pursue my dream of becoming a snooker professional. I had my dream come true, that I didn't have to go to school and that I could pursue my snooker 100%. And I played full-time professional snooker from being 13 years of age. Although I didn't turn professional until I was 15, I was in that snooker club for 6, 7, 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. All my decisions as a kid were all about, is this going to help you with your snooker? Is this best for your potential career and this and that? And it's affected pretty much every area of my life. People use the word sacrifice and stuff like that. I never really liked to use that word because I never considered it a sacrifice. I wanted to play snooker.
Now, when you play snooker, is it completely for yourself or is it for others to make you proud of you?
I always think about my grandparents when I think about people who I'd like to have made proud of me. And you know, I didn't really know them very well. They died when I was very, very young. And I often have a moment to myself and think, I wish they'd have still been around. I know my granddad Tom was a very keen sportsman, loved his billiards, liked a game of snooker. And I often think, I wonder if he'd have known, how would he look down on me now, and would he be proud of me? Would he be proud of, you know, the bloke I've become? Would he be proud of the things I've achieved? I'd love to be able to have 10 minutes with him and ask him what he thought.
You seem to have great self-belief. Where does that come from?
Do you know, a lot of it comes from practice. I was never the thickest skinned kid. What people used to say, write about me, talk about me, used to affect me. I used to read a lot of press that was written about me. You know, at one time I would read all the tweets that I would get sent and stuff like that. But now I'm more of a bit thicker skinned version. I'm like Shaun .1, and you know, I'm just probably a little bit wiser, and I learn to take the rough with the smooth a little bit more. And I understand that, you know, everyone's entitled to their opinions, and I just can't try and keep rolling.
When you were young, your ambitions were to win the world title and become world #1. You fulfilled the first. Do you have it in you to achieve the second?
Well, at 22, when I won this championship, someone said to me, what were your ambitions and what are they now? And I said, well, I had 3 ambitions as a kid. Be world champion, be world #1, and buy a Mercedes car. And 10 years ago, I achieved 2 of those things. About a week after winning this title, I went and bought a Mercedes, and that ticked that box. I'm still waiting for the other one. I've still never got to the top of the rankings. If I'm honest, at 32, the rankings have become less important to me. It's always nice to be as high as you possibly can, because it's nice.
Now, you completed the elusive Triple Crown this year in the Masters, and if you capped it off with the World Championship, surely the best season ever.
Oh, without question. I mean, a victory in the final here would be the end to what's been already, you know, one of the best years of my life. If I were to win it, it would probably be the best.
And interestingly, Shaun .1 could go up to world #2 if he were to win this final once again. It's very interesting hearing him, because I remember in 2005 he beat you en route to that title, and he described himself as a mad potter back then. But in which way specifically do you think his all-round game has improved? What's seen the greatest improvement in his game, do you think?
I would imagine positional play and the maturity of understanding his own game. Safety, I suppose every player develops a good safety game, but these days safety it seems like everybody's got a decent safety game in place. But I think he's happy in his sort of life as well.
I do think he was getting beaten by the people who were a little bit better in the safety department. The John Higginses used to beat him, the Mark Selby used to beat him, the Neil Robertsons used to beat him. Anyone who made it difficult played 4 or 5 safeties and waited for Shaun to make a mistake. They don't do it now. They can't do it now because he's up there, his safety's improved, his appreciation of the shots he's got to play is improved. So the days where he threw a few matches away, he may have hit the ball better than those players in some of the matches I've seen, but they ended up winning. Doesn't happen a lot now.
Concentration seems to be an awful lot better. I think it was Stephen Hendry who coined that phrase 40itis. He kept breaking down around the 40 to 50 mark when he was in major breaks, and that was really spelling a lot of defeats for him.
Yeah, and I think he's choosing his shots wisely, what shots to play, yeah, from an attacking perspective, and happy that he's going for them. You know, I think there was a little while when whilst he may be a better safety player, there was a time when he was trying too hard in that department. Now he's got the balance right. He seems as if he's getting back to how he used to play, and he's actually mentioned that in in commentary and in interviews.
Well, he's actually hit a couple of screaming shots, well, more than a couple actually, over the last few days. And we were just wondering about the shot of the championship, because over the last 16 days or so, it's quite hard to remember your name at times, never mind some of the best shots. But we have put together one or two of the best ones, we think, and we'd like you to be the judge. And in order to see them, we'd like you to go to the BBC Sport website, please, and you can vote there by clicking on the shot of your choice, or you can tweet the hashtag of the shot you like best, for example, hashtag shot A to @BBC Snooker. And you can find all the terms and conditions at bbc.co.uk/snooker. The vote closes at 6 o'clock tomorrow, and the result will be announced in tomorrow evening's programme and on the BBC Sport website. But moving on, Steve and I were in the studio here last night when we had Stuart Bingham come in here for what was one of the most emotional interviews I think we've both ever conducted with a player. And about 2.5 million people, all of you at home, were watching it as well, after what was an extraordinary victory in a final frame decider over Judd Trump. And once he'd collected himself a little bit more, he was able to sit down and just process what he'd achieved with Steve.
What are your first memories of the Crucible?
May probably say, let's say 30 years ago.
I don't.
Sorry to say. There was all my family watching, obviously, your final with Dennis, and I think I was the only one that wanted you to win out of my family.
How old were you then?
85, I would have been 9.
Did you have a toy table back then?
At 9, I think I did. I think I'd won about 8. My dad used to get it out the garage. Anyone that walked by, I said, want a game of snooker?
What about memories coming here?
Yeah, what a start. I remember we done the draw on grandstand. They done a sort of practice thing and I come out with you. And then when the real one come out, I was obviously playing Steve and Hendry. But looking back then, I was obviously just enjoying it out there. Obviously, everyone was like, oh, unlucky with the draw and this and that. And I'm like, what do you mean? I've got nothing to lose. I'm playing the best player in the world. And I don't care if I get hammered. I remember talking to Stephen at grandstand when he was doing the thing, and he said the only thing he wanted to do was not get whitewashed. And when the draw came out, that's all I could think about until we played. And I remember winning my first frame, I think to make it 1-1. I turned around to him and said, when we sat down, I said, that saves the whitewash, and he sort of had a little giggle to himself. Second time I come here, I missed the pink on a 147, and even though it would have been 167 grand, that it still hurts. That time, I just thought, if I can get on shot of the championship and go for a max, that's all I wanted to do, and I think I did that year. Just to play the one table setup was unbelievable. What a feeling going out there, and they're all there just to watch you. Just totally enjoyed every second of it. I was the underdog against Ronnie, I was the underdog against Judd, and I had nothing to lose.
Your record over the last few seasons has been great, but as far as the audience is concerned, they still sort of consider a bit of an underdog.
Well, obviously my results have been coming better abroad, China and Australia. Obviously won a few Asian Tour events, and obviously won the Premier League in this country, but it's obviously on Sky. But to get the recognition, you've got to do it on the BBC.
When you beat Ronnie, there was a few tears, understandably, for the one table setup. Normally, are you an emotional person?
No, I'm not normally. Just sort of conquering some dreams. The last sort of 4 or 5 years. Things happening on and off the table. It's just dreams coming true.
So would you have cried at a Rocky film or a Lassie film?
Both. Both.
There's a little bit there. You're coming a bit under the radar, but do you crave a bit of limelight? There's a little bit of ego there, any?
I remember my mum and dad always used to say I used to play squash at county level before I played snooker, and they said you play better when the crowd, the bigger crowd was watching, sort of thing, and they say it's no different in this. I love it. Say 25 years ago, I was one of these fans getting all the autographs, and I love going out there now and signing the autographs. So I'm a massive fan of snooker, and everyone knows it.
Have you always held the belief in your mind that you could get this far in the World Championship, or is it just a dream?
You turn pro wanting to become world champion, world #1, but realising how tough it is, or how tough it was, you just sort of think, yeah, it's just too hard. With the likes of Ronnie, John Higgins, Mark Williams, yourself, Hendry, it's just a very tough era, really. But yeah, it's a dream. It's an unbelievable dream.
Do you dare picture yourself with a trophy?
The thoughts will be there, but I'd say I've got a very tough game with Shaun.
Is the end goal this, the World Championship? Is that the icing or the cake, or is it just more and more snooker? Because you've been the most prolific player this season, playing everything. Do you think that will change if you were to win it?
I don't think it will change me. I'll still be. Yeah, obviously, people would want a lot more of me, but I don't think it would change me. To win it, I could happily retire.
Yeah, he has certainly been one of the hardest grafters since the Barry Hearn revolution in snooker. In fact, this is his 120th match of the season, and he's won 85, and it rather underscores what's been happening in the game, John and Steve. Particularly when you look at Barry Hawkins, exactly the same thing. He got to the final here, having played most and won most matches as well a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he's definitely battle-hardened, that's for sure, isn't he? So he spends, you know, he deserves what he gets. All the time he spent in airports and on planes and travelling here and everywhere. Seems glamorous, but we've all done it. We know it's hard work, and of course at the end of that you have to play snooker as well. He's done a fantastic job of it. He's totally embraced the circuit for what it is. There's the tournaments for me to play in, and I'm going to play in them.
Has the new circuit and the new opportunities been the making of Stuart Bingham's career?
Well, it would appear so, but I think he was coming up through the ranks anyway. But I do think that some players have actually responded better, have come on in leaps and bounds, and I think Stuart Bingham's certainly one of those. It was a couple of tournaments he didn't play in, and he was gutted that he couldn't play in them. I mean, you know, and it's a crowded enough season as it is.
Well, I think he's won a huge number of admirers over the last 16 days. Real honesty of effort and real honesty of emotion. I think people have really connected with him here, but he's got a real battle on his hands now, because in the blink of an eye he's found himself 4 frames behind. We got a change in the commentary box now. 5 more frames to play this evening. We're going to share them in the excellent company of Stephen Hendry and John Virgo. Good evening.
Thank you. Frame 13.
Good evening, Hazel.
Stuart Bingham to break.
5 more frames to play. Very important ones, I feel, for Stuart Bingham, Stephen.
Yes, if he's got any ambitions of winning this match. Well, he needs 3 out of 2 minimum. Let's say 4 out of the 5 frames is his target. But then, the other side of the coin, Shaun Murphy's thinking, if I can get 7-2, 8-1 tonight, a commanding lead going into tomorrow.
%96% Shaun Murphy the last 4 frames. That is impressive. But I must say, there's been 1 or 2 shots that Stuart's decided to take on, which, final of the World Championship, I found a little bit strange. Particularly that plant he played early on. I mean, you might not even play that in an exhibition. So I know they've got a mindset, the modern day player, that get 1 chance, win the frame, but you can't push the boat out too far. But even though he's lost the first 4, he certainly had chances. But we can have a look at this plant. I mean, this is dangerous. I'm not certain what you're going to be on. Trying to hold for the black, that's why he missed it. I mean, if you played it to pot the plant, the cue ball finishes up in the middle of the table for me. And he just left this easy starter for Shaun, and the form Shaun's in, he's not going to not make the most of opportunities like that.
That was a big first frame tonight, wasn't it? Shaun cleared up from Stuart's easy red miss. He just seemed to send Shaun into overdrive.
Couldn't go to the balk end, obviously, because of that red, but you saw as we panned in there. What an atmosphere. And such is the Crucible Theatre, because it's not that big, it only holds just over 900 people. I hope you're getting that atmosphere at home. So we're coming in from the bleachers, so to speak, and we're coming down to the front row. Beautiful. And that's what it's all about. Joe Davis donated it to the Billiards Association all them many years ago. Red going towards the left middle. Is it covered? I think it is. And there was another red just drifted across there. Otherwise, there could have been a plant. So a little bit fortunate.
Yeah, I think he's got a pretty good cue ball. So it's going to be difficult for Shaun to play the same sort of shot.
It looks like Shaun's going to come off the side cushion and nestle on that red near the far left corner. Oh, but he nearly ran past it. He nearly ran past it. Safe enough now, though. And not a lot Stuart can do. I don't think he can pot the red, but he can't get enough pace to send the red up the table, so I think you're just going to have to play a little dab off. Well, he's had a look. It doesn't look possible. And even though that red is what, 6 inches from the pocket, he's going to have to hit this so hard. Because he's got to leave it so Shaun can't just knock it up the table. Well, I don't know if he's left Shaun a chance to send the red up the table and leave the cue at the pocket. No, he's just playing a little toucher. This is why billiards never caught on. Well, just look in there. I think there's enough room between the cue ball and the red ball to possibly send the red up the table, is there not? Looks like it.
Well, if he just touches up again, we're looking at a re-rack.
No, I think he's trying to send the red up the table. Decided better to leave it in the jaws of that pocket, so the stalemate over. The double kiss, and he's left the red on. Getting plenty of encouragement, Stephen, but sometimes that just makes you a little bit more nervous.
Yeah, big pressure now on Stuart.
One.
Couldn't get the right side of the blue, so needs to find that gap between the baulk colours. Oh, and he didn't. He caught the brown, had too much right-hand side on the cue ball. Okay, he may still have a pot on, but he wanted to be closer to the object ball than this. Good shot. Good shot. That'll make him feel better. OK, he's finished close to the cushion, but I think he's got just the right angle on the blue as we watch this red go in. Just got in the right angle on the blue where he doesn't have to do a lot with the cue ball. Got to make these opportunities count. And now nicely on a red that he can now play for the black.
12.
Reds are nicely spread, doesn't have to be playing any cannons, just precise positional play required.
13. $20. 21.
He would like to, if possible, get on the red immediately above the black to the same pocket. You can't do it here, it's too straight, but that would open up 2 reds to the left corner. No, he's played that well though.
Yeah, nice little cannon.
28.
That's twice though he's played for the black and he's come too straight. If you can leave yourself a 3/4 ball pot, then it's a lot easier to manoeuvre the cue ball. You'll look for a nice angle.
29.
On this one. Is he too straight again? No, he's getting down pretty quick. He must be happy with the potting angle. Kiss the red he didn't want to kiss.
36.
Still got the red to the left corner, but he kissed the red unintentionally. Oh, and he's got one to the left middle. That's a bonus.
37.
Well, looked like he got a big bounce there.
44.
Cue ball's a lot further away from this red than he wanted. He seemed surprised at the speed of that cue ball came off the top cushion.
$45.
Judged the cannon off the second red well.
$52. 53.
No, he really needs to concentrate. Doesn't want to do what he did in the first frame.
$60. 61.
This black, one more red in the colour would be enough.
He seems to have picked the pace up, John, in his play.
Well, he probably had a
68.
strong word with himself during the interval because, you know, he had a few chances. And when you have chances and you don't take them,
69.
you know else to blame but yourself. This knowledgeable, crucial audience know that that was frame ball, but he wanted to go on and possibly make the century.
Yeah, for 2 reasons. To let Shaun that he's still here and he's going to punish mistakes, and also for his own confidence
76.
and self-belief in this match.
Long look at the scoreboard. You're 76 in front. There's just 67 remaining. frame in the bag. Can we see a century? Well, that was surprising,
Stuart
but
Bingham,
I'll
76.
be perfectly honest with you. I don't know why he stopped to look at the scoreboard, really. Should be enough, but broke his concentration.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly the same thing, John. Why stop when you're in flow? I mean, he was playing at a lovely speed. It's an easy red. What are you doing looking at the scoreboard? Just get down and clear the table. Pressure does strange things.
So at the moment, it's 3 snookers needed. I can only assume that the reason Stuart thought about, when I was looking at the scoreboard, maybe he thought he could beat the 1-4-5 break or something. I don't know, but there was no reason, as you say, to delay. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Shaun Murphy 1.
That's the end of the frame, but as I've said many times, you don't concede when it's your opponent's turn at the table.
Well, I don't think Shaun Murphy missed a single ball with the rest in his semi-final, and he was 100% up to that easy pink.
Frame, Stuart Bingham.
He's conceded. Well, Stuart made a bit of a mess of his last couple of pots, but he did well. He made a good break of 76, and he's got his first frame on the scoreboard this evening. He's now 3 behind.
And let's just reflect on the shot that let Stuart in earlier in that frame, John.
It's an old adage that there's no such thing as an easy shot on a snooker table. Shaun Murphy's got this position here where he's just tapping the red and balk area. The one thing he's got to do with that is make sure that it's lined up exactly straight on, because you've got a double kiss then. You can't play away across the ball. And he left it with a slight angle. Stuart played it, knocked it down the table, left him in a really awkward spot, and then the safety shot, he got the double kiss. But with that shot there, it was just simple. Just make sure they're lined up. So you can't play the shot, you're going to get a double kiss.
And later on, for all the world, it looked like we were on course to break the record of centuries, and then a quick glance at the scoreboard and it's finished.
Yeah, I mean, it's I suppose one of these lads is going to break it at some stage. I think perhaps fractionally more likely Shaun, but it'd be quite a nice thing to be the person who did finally get over the line. But obviously all the players have added to that because it's been an exceptional standard this year, and I'm sure the standard is going to get ever better. Whether we see 100 breaks of 100 at the Crucible, I wonder when that will happen.
Yeah, interesting point, isn't it? We've got a good few frames to play this evening, and you guys know exactly what it's like to stay the course in a final. What changes in this second session this evening?
Oh, it's all circumstances, Hazel. You don't know it. It's the match that you're playing at the time. I mean, you know, I've had 2 sort of finals, one where he thumped me and one of them, another one where I was in front. So it's a different mindset completely. So it's you play the balls as they are for each session. Stuart would have come out for this one with the extra 4 frames tonight, thinking I've got to win at least 3-1 in this session.
You. Frame 14.
Well, he's certainly got one. Let's
Shaun
head
Murphy
back.
to break.
So Shaun breaking off, but it's not the best one. He's left this red on, the usual suspect, if you like, to this right corner. And he has a slight angle. If the black's not available, he has enough angle to run back up for the blue. Oh, well, couldn't have been much closer. I'm sure he thought the only red he could leave was the one he was playing. That's what happened when he must have thought it was in.
Well, that is a shocker. It really is. Fair enough, not getting the snooker behind the green, but not hitting it hard enough for the red to pass the middle pocket. That's very careless. I don't know if the black pot's the left corner. If it doesn't, it's not the easiest positional shot in the world. Unless he's straight enough, he can stun for the blue. side of the blue, so have to come in and out of bulk. Plenty of room the right-hand side of the table, the green being off its spot.
Yeah, obviously the black will not go to the left corner pocket. Don't want to get too much side on this. Well, he's swinging it round. Is the red just below the pink available?
6.
If it isn't, I'm just wondering if he's overhit it by quite a way. Well, maybe he can just get past the pink. He's overhit it, but maybe just able to see enough of the red to pot it in the right corner and go up to the baulk end and possibly play for the green.
Stuart Bingham, 6.
Yeah, it's a poor positional shot for the blue, to be fair. The big margin for error there to be on a red.
Yeah, he's been a little bit fortunate, by the looks of it, for reds to the right corner, but there's one to the left corner, where Shaun can get his hand on the table. But not in. Not in. But nothing that easy left. The red along the top cushion. If it was tight against the cushion, you'd fancy it, but if it's just off, they're tricky. Just off the cushion. They're hard. Well, you think he'd play a pot on the way this match has been played out so far. Neither player has really refused any chance of a pot. The red to the right of the pink, I suppose he could play to the far right corner, but if he's running into the pink, he'll leave the cue ball, well, probably in the middle of the table, so if he goes for it, he needs to get it. Now he's looking to see where he could leave the cue ball to play a good safety. I think that would be my choice. He's playing catch-up. You don't want to gift your opponent chances.
Well, it took a long time to think about it, and in the end, played a very poor shot.
Yeah, there was only one thing he had to do there, and get that cue ball tight under the baulk cushion. Well, he's missed another one. That is a surprise.
Yeah, maybe the interval has just cooled off his concentration, the intensity. Certainly before the interval, you wouldn't fancy Shaun missing that.
Yeah, played it that time. He wasn't hampered by any other red. And played it beautifully. Confidently played. Now he's got to make the most of these opportunities, as I said before. And this is a decent one. The black will be available into both corners. Blue on its spot. Good chance. And played that well.
8. Nine. 16.
Well, he's got this red to the left corner, but he needed to be straighter on it. He's got the one to the left middle. That's easier for position.
He's
okay, wrong side of the blue, but he's got the red on the baulk line to play for.
$22. $23.
Oh, again, he's lost the cue ball. He's just fighting with his positional play at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think he's played for the red in the middle, you know, Stephen. I think he's played for a red that's in the middle of the cluster. He might be fortunate that he doesn't have to do much with the cue ball. It'll certainly help. Delicately got to put his bridge on there, referee Olivia Marteil, keeping an eagle eye on it, but as a player you'd know if you touch one, so you've got to be careful with this bridge hand here. As I say, it was made easier by the fact that he didn't have to do much with the cue ball, but I'm surprised he's left himself so close to the side. That was always the problem for me. I'd rather left plenty of angle and gone in out of baulk.
But even that blue, why not just raise the butt of the cue and just stun the cue ball? Virtually where the blue spot is. You know you're going to have a nice angle in the red. Fair enough, you're further away, but at least you've got a guaranteed shot for the black. Does he have to cannon a red here? No, he's straight enough just to be able to drop in. So back in perfect position. I like his attitude, John, since the interval. I love the pace he's playing at. You wouldn't think he was 4 frames down.
No, you wouldn't, and he's one of those type of players, Stuart. He can get on a roll.
42.
And he's on a roll now. We questioned once or twice about him just losing the cue ball, but he's such a good potter, he can recover, but you can't keep recovering. So a couple of nice positional shots here, and the frames at his mercy. 56 ahead, 83 remaining.
50.
Probably needs 3 of these remaining reds to be certain of the frame.
51.
Yeah, and if he does get to that situation, stay away from that scoreboard. Just concentrate on clearing the table, because that will really send a message to your opponent.
58.
Line up the scoreboard. It's telling him just this red and a colour, and it'll be snookers required.
59.
And as he did in the last frame, well, until he got to the snookers required stage, he's taken these really well. Solid. And that's it on the red. And getting plenty of encouragement from this crucial audience.
67.
They want to see a match, and I think they're going to get one.
$74. $75.
Now then, pot this black, cannon the red just below the pink. And they broke lovely. In 2009, we had 83 centuries made during the tournament. I think a lot of people
83.
then said, would that ever be beaten? If Stuart Bingham makes a century here, it will be the 84th century made in this year's Betfred World Snooker Championship.
89. 90.
Yeah, I think a lot of people questioned
97.
about whether he'd be tired. Well, it doesn't look like it to me. He's running around the table.
98.
So this for the 84th century of the championship and a record. Well played, Stuart Bingham. Well played, everybody in the tournament.
105. 108. 112. 117.
A little bit of an exhibition shot to finish. Slow up cue ball. I want you to put this black, Stuart.
23.
And wait for the roar. Where's the cue ball going? It doesn't matter. Fantastic. The 84th century break at this year's Betfred World Snooker Championship, made by Stuart Bingham, but more importantly, a frame winner, and now just 2 behind. Shaun Murphy leads 8 frames to 6.
Oh, yes, a little raising of the eyebrows. There's confirmation that you have just witnessed a piece of sporting history. They've been playing here since 1977, and that's the most ever knocked in a single championship. It says so much about the quality, not just of Stuart, but of all of the players who have reached this particular championship, doesn't it?
Fantastic. And I hate to say it, Willie Thorne was right. He said it right the first couple of days. He said, hey, it's going to get beaten. I just hate it when Willie's right.
It does say a lot about the way that the modern day player goes about making big breaks now, doesn't it, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, and those figures are all over the place. It's quite strange how there's not been a constant improvement, and that may be down to fractional differences in the size of the pockets, even though they come under the sort of templates every year. You know, there's tight and there's tight. You know, the templates are wooden blocks that fit into the pockets. You think they'd be bang on all the time, but you know, different makes of table over the years, and slightly different, perhaps cut in the middle pocket. But you know, all I'm just
honestly, I mean, these tables are tough. But these 2 boys here, they're making it look like a pool table at the minute. Honestly, they're playing that well.
Well, we've talked about the response from Stuart Bingham. Noticeably has upped the pace here, flying round the table now. Let's see how he can do in the next one.
Yeah, it's nice to go back to the studio and just gives us a chance to take a breath, because that was sensational. It really was, and having lost the first 4 frames, very impressive from Stuart as the match time just goes past the 4-hour mark. Average frame time now just over 17 minutes. Played it in such a way that he knew the only red, but he'll get a little bit concerned, Shaun, because he had a couple of long-range pots, a lot easier than the one he's just missed. But I think you said earlier on today, Stephen, if his long potting isn't on song, then there's a little bit of a problem. And of course, the shot he left to the middle early on in that frame was very poor safety.
Yeah, I think it's probably an exaggeration to say he's half the player without the long potting, but it's certainly a big part of his game. It's the way, certainly in his semi-final, he got in more often than not in the first 4 frames tonight. So yeah, if they're not going in, it'd be a worry to Shaun.
Yeah, once again, disappointing safety from Stuart, catching the brown. And I think this red cuts to the right corner. But another one that you'd half expect him to get, and he's left it.
Yeah, because Shaun always plays them so positively, playing to land on a colour, not to get safe. If he does miss, as he has here, he's left a pot on for Stuart. It's amazing how momentum changes in these long matches.
That's turned out nice. And he was trying to develop the black. And, okay, he might not be able to play the black in such a way he can pot the red and stay on the black, but he's certainly got an angle to find it easy to get on the next red and go up for the blue. Needs to creep past it, and has done. Beautiful shot.
Eight. 9. Sixteen. Thank you. 17.
Well, he'd be disappointed with that. Never got through
24.
the cue ball at all, just quit on the shot. And that's why he never got the backspin. Okay, he's got a red to the left middle, but he should have been on an easier one than that. The one he's closest to, I mean, it looked a formality to get position on it. And when you're not on the red you played for, just a little bit of added pressure. Well, decided to play it in the top. Wow, he'll be going back to his seat. Very, very disappointed. What a chance he's let go there. You can only assume the reason he played it in the top, because he thought, well, the only red I can leave is the one I'm playing, but what a chance he's let go. Got so much cue power as Stuart, to not get enough backspin on the cue ball there is unforgivable.
Well, this is a better shot. I think the cue ball's gone tight enough to the cushion that Stuart can bring the cue ball back to the black cushion. There's a couple of tempters, I think, to each centre pocket. If he can play one without leaving an easy red on, he may be tempted.
Well, absolutely, Stephen, because I don't see a safety. Not a guaranteed safety. Decision time. Into consideration, the last time he left the table was, he must have been thinking, why am I not still at the table potting balls? What a pot that was. And that is the key to any sport, really. You put your disappointment behind you straight away. That was a tremendous shot to the middle.
Would have liked to have a little bit less angle in this red. That's a cue ball to stop. That's perfect. Now this is a great chance. He would be disappointed not to win it from here.
Sure. 12.
There's a new addition this year. He needs to get to 69 points, or past 69 points, to get to the snooker's required stage, so couldn't wish for a better opportunity than this.
$13. $19.
Interesting little stat. Balls potted, Shaun Murphy 218, and it'll equal when this red is rolled in.
20.
218 balls each they potted. Total points 794. Murphy 31 points behind at the moment. Stuart. But if he can hold himself together, this frame, I think he's okay. Well, he's having
27.
a close look, so obviously this isn't the red he played for, but it just goes.
$28.
Couple of reds in that little cluster below the pink that are available to the left corner, so doesn't have to do anything with the cue ball.
It's been a great stand-up tonight, though, hasn't it? Today's session, this afternoon session, was there's a few scrappy frames, but tonight's been excellent so far. As you would expect, these are both very heavy scorers when they get in.
Well, decided not to risk running through there, which surprises me a little bit. As we come in, and you'll see that he's the wrong side of the blue here. I thought he could have played the run through and kiss off the other red and be on the black. Wrong side of the blue, bit to do with the cue ball. Gotta miss the brown, gotta miss the brown, just. It's okay now, back in position.
41.
Now just this black
42.
needed to take 3 frames in a row against Shaun Murphy's 4 in a row at the start of the session. Messed up his first opportunity, made no mistake with this. Shaun Murphy has had a couple of long pots that he's missed that we normally expect him to get. And Stephen said, what Stuart's showing him, you make
50.
the mistakes, and I'm going to take full advantage. At the moment, Stephen, certainly a match of 2 halves.
55. $56.
This is really impressive stuff from Stuart Bingham.
63.
I can't remember in his first 4 matches and being behind
64.
that often. Maybe he went 9-8 down to Sullivan at the evening session. This is the first match he's been behind, so a different test for him. And he's just showing he's got everything.
71.
Well, as I say, he had the first chance and he played a poor positional shot. And he went back to his seat and he must have been so disappointed that he didn't win the frame. And then he knocked a red to the right middle. You know, that's not an easy thing to do, put that disappointment behind you.
80.
And now perfect on the black, just roll it in naturally beyond the yellow.
$87. 89.
That's called a little bit of adrenaline, folks. Well, what a pity. What a pity, but every credit to Stuart Bingham, no century. But boy, did he show what character he's got there. And he's now won 3 on the trot. And he's only 1 behind Shaun Murphy now. It's 8-7.
And he strides out there so purposefully, doesn't he? 3 frames in a row now for Stuart Bingham, and having been 8-4 behind, he's certainly back in this match. And you were saying to me, it's a classic interval turnaround, John.
Unbelievable. You just said this. I mean, the way Shaun Murphy played, bouncing around the place at 8-4 going in. I mean, he's gone in the interval. He obviously didn't want the interval. Stuart's obviously had a chance to just take a deep breath and think about things. He's come out and it's completely changed around. And Stuart's got the bounce around the table now. He's absolutely bouncing all over the place and doesn't look like he's going to miss. And at the moment, Shaun can't get to the table.
You know, Steve, you said something last night which I know John identified with when you were talking about Stuart and his pedigree. What was it? Just remind us what you said.
Well, it was a compliment of all compliments in a way. That I didn't think he was that good. Yeah, and that's from somebody who knows how good he is, but he's moved up a level, really. And the performance against Judd Trump was astonishing. And he showed so much strength of character here, because it would have been easy for the head to drop. And, you know, going 4 frames behind. And I think the situation is now, if you could rewind, if he weren't live, you could rewind the tape. And then all of the things we said about Shaun Murphy beforehand, if we just transposed Stuart's name onto them, it applies.
That is so Steve Davis.
Absolutely. The worrying thing is, I totally agreed with him last night. I was butchering a demo next door.
We weren't going to remind you about that, by the way.
Showing the nation how not to play off a cushion. When Steve came up with that line, I didn't think he was that good.
Yeah.
I was about to just come out with the line myself, so I'm sorry that it's worrying for you, Steve, by the way, that I think the same as you, but it was absolutely true.
They're starting to think the same way. Be very afraid.
So 2 more frames to be played. And it's still not beyond the realms of possibility that Stuart Bingham could have a lead.
Yeah, as I said about momentum in a match, it's completely turned around. You see the shot time. Murphy's still slightly quicker, but the last 2 frames, the last 3 frames, Bingham seemed to be playing a lot quicker than that.
That average frame time has dropped below 17 minutes a frame.
This is a snooker I like though, John. Hardly any safety play, just get in, make big breaks, win the frames in one visit.
Oh, he misjudged that. Now, a lot will depend on this red along the top cushion, whether Shaun has an angle to bring the cue ball out for position on the black. Not certain he has. And the problem is with this shot, the more pace you play it with, the less likelihood it's going to drop. And it's over 29 minutes since Shaun last potted a ball. Yeah, just made certain of the red. Didn't overdo it with pace. Don't blame him. But now he's low on this black.
I think the red passes the brown into the right corner, far right corner, so he can just drop this black in. The natural angle will take him up to that.
8.
Yeah, Stephen said it was just a natural angle to play for this red.
9.
There's 2 reds just above the black that would be nice to get on. Just come and have a look down the right-hand side of the table. You'd think he's got to send his cue ball down the right-hand side of the table as we look. And those 2 reds just above the black would be his target, you would have thought. Well, he decided to go into them. Now, how's your luck? It's not great. Well, he's got a red to the left centre.
12.
So it's not all bad.
Thirteen.
Well, he's got an angle to come into again, but should he? Decided against that. I don't blame him. Black was available into both corners, and there's a couple of reds, as I keep saying, above the
18.
black. Some nice loose reds to play for before you have to take any risky cannons.
19.
The reason I think he played it off the green, he didn't think he could guarantee to be on a red, so decided to take a chance to open them up. Didn't hit them exactly as he would like, because he caught the pink, but found a red to the left middle to keep him going. Just giving this an extra thought or two. He knows that this is a big opportunity. If he wins this frame, bound to have a lead after the first day.
$26. $27.
And now he's nicely on the red.
32.
68 is the target to get to the snooker's required stage.
33.
It's starting to be a bit like a boxing match, this, John. Who can throw the biggest punch?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Stephen. There's no holding back.
40.
It's pot for pot.
41.
Well, it's a little bit careless to leave himself hampered,
48.
but if he's straight on the red and he doesn't have to do much with the cue ball, he's okay. Well, he's getting down pretty quick, so he must be straight. And he is.
49.
Bound to go into the 4 reds here. I think as long as he hits the right-hand side of them, it's bound to be on a red. Well, that does surprise me. He played the cannon on the 2 reds that are to the right of the table, the left one. He's missed the cannon.
56.
And just a little bit of work to do now with the cue ball. 56 points to lead, but 83 remaining.
$57.
And just the wrong side of the blue. So it just makes it a little bit more awkward. Couldn't get close to this next intended red. There you see it, 62 ahead, 75 remaining. Once
62.
he pots the red, there's only 67 remaining, so red and a black would do it. Nicely played. So the black to go 70 points in front with 67 remaining. Well played. It's not easy when you've been frozen out for 3 frames. When he started this visit,
70.
he hadn't potted a ball for 29 minutes. Both
71.
players showing tremendous character. And a nice angle on the blue just to stun in now and release these 4 reds. Just caught him a glancing blow. Is he on anything?
76.
Doesn't look like. He's not on the one to the corner pocket. 76 points the lead. 59 remaining. They may want to push the boat out and try and make a century, but how many snookers? Well, there's quite a few snookers needed. 5 snookers, so he may think it's worth taking the risk. He's played a plant. Well, it's not gone on, but I'm certain Stuart will concede, and he does. So Shaun Murphy will be relieved. I was beginning to wonder where his next frame was coming from. But after 29 minutes of not potting a ball, he got an opportunity and made it a frame when he won. He's now 2 clear. 9-7. Well, Stephen, one more frame to play, and it's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, I must say I'm really impressed with the temperament of both players tonight. Stuart Bingham lost the first 4 frames after a first frame of the evening where he should have won it. Came back after the interval, won 3 frames in a row with a century. All frames won in 1 visit. Shaun Murphy's had to sit out, we said, half an hour since his last pot, and he's come back and won a frame in 1 visit. Great snooker.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what they've got their eyes on. And of course, in 2005, Shaun Murphy lifted that magnificent trophy. How Stuart Bingham would love to get his hands on it. And there you go, 2005, Shaun Murphy. It seems amazing after it's another 10 years since, well, he has been to one other final, but you'd have thought the way he won it in 2005, he could possibly have had it.
17th and final frame of this session.
One to his name.
Stuart Bingham to break.
Maybe it's this year. So final frame of the session. Just over 4 hours, 20 minutes. They've not been hanging about. And well, it equates to is Stuart going to be 1 frame behind after day 1 or 3? And the frame time is dropping rapidly. It was just over 17 minutes. It's now just less than 16.5 minutes. Shaun Murphy we expect with the long pots. It's funny how it's switching one way and the other. It's unbelievable. Doesn't look too happy there, so a bit close to the cushion. That's what makes this black a bit more difficult. He doesn't want to be too straight either. Well, he had enough angle. Disappointing miss. It wasn't as if he was trying to squeeze the black in. Good opening red. Be disappointed to have missed the black off the spot, practically. That clears the black spot, but wrong side of the blue. Well, does the pink go? I think it does, to the right corner. It certainly does, and it wouldn't bother Stuart too much if this pink spot was held and the pink had to go on the black spot. As long as you've got a high value colour at this end. Now, this is an important thing. Referee not even checking, so
7.
perfect. Pink on the black spot, just what he needed.
8.
Now, do you take the chance? I mean, normally you'd play a little cannon into the cluster, you'd be on the loose red, but he doesn't want to really clear the pink spot, if he can help it. Took his eye off the pot. How many times do we see it happen? You concentrate so much on the cannon, and he tried to play it gentle so he wouldn't open the pink spot. And how many times, Stephen, we say it yourself, you just deaccelerate and the cue ball just slides off target.
Yeah, and in the end he missed it by a long way through not delivering the cue in that positive fashion.
1.
Was that the first sign of weakness tonight, really, from Stuart?
Yeah, he's shaking his head there. He was just trying not to hit the reds too hard. He wanted to keep that pink spot covered.
Yeah, Stuart's shaking his head because more often than not, a mistake in this match tonight has cost the frame.
7. 8.
Just had to really get hold of the cue ball here to get into the pack. And seemed to be watching the pink before he even delivered the cue there almost.
Well, there's a red just come and covered.
13.
A choice of 2 reds to the right corner. OK, he's got one to the left corner, but he'd have liked one to the right corner. It looked for all money it was going to be on, at least 2 of them. And then all of a sudden these reds have appeared. Spoilt it. Now this red to the left corner is OK, as long as he can avoid the cannon on the pink and come in behind it. Well, can he hold to go across it? No.
14.
No, and it just shows you, just that fraction. OK, the black's potable at the top end, but it's missable, and where the cue ball finishes is anybody's guess.
Black ball.
Well, it's a tough pot at the best of times, this. Where's the cue ball going to finish? Not perfect by any means.
21.
Well, I'm sure when Shaun seen the black go in, he thought, well, that's handy, I'm going to be perfect on something here. If he plays this red, he'll be playing for the black to the right centre. But he knows missing it will probably cost him the frame.
Shaun Murphy, 21.
Yeah, when he brought the reds open, he was a little unlucky. And I think he's left a path, you know, to this red knit that's closest to the right corner. Well, maybe not. Just covered by the blue. If he could get his hand on the table, he could bend it round, but being so close to the cushion, I don't think that is on. He's having a look, though. He's trying it. Just to trace the left-hand side. Well, the main thing was you get the red away from the pocket, and he's got the cue ball back to balk. He'll settle for that. tough shot. And now Stuart Bingham has his chance. Pink in the open, black in the open.
A lot of pressure now. This is now a massive break in the context of this match for Stuart Bingham.
Yes, I think after what's happened to him today, Stephen, to finish the first day only 1 frame behind, you know, after losing the first 3 frames of this afternoon session, first 4 tonight.
Nine.
So this black will take him 2 points in front and all to play for.
Yeah, I think twice today, when Murphy went 3-0 up, you thought, well, he's going to win this session maybe 6-2, 7-1, the way he was playing. He didn't. Back to 4-4, then tonight, the first 4 frames, you thought, he's going to win 7-2 or 8-1. He's been hauled back twice. I'll be worrying a little bit.
Yeah, you get that feeling, having had those type of leads, that Stuart keeps pulling him back. As you say, it will give you something to think about. Why am I not further in front than I am? But Stuart's still got it to do. But he knows the importance of this visit. But he's got 24. To keep that cue going through smooth. Hold on to your emotions. Particularly when you know how important the frame is. Now, giving this a little bit of a look here, it looks like he could run through and just snick off the other red. Surely that, yeah, this is the shot to play. Played it nicely.
$31. $32.
Played for the black. That would just roll in the black in, puts him on the next red. It just went off the near jaw. You know, he wanted that to be in the middle of the pocket. He must have been slightly worried when it hit that near jaw, but it was okay. 25 points the lead. He's going to need 3 of these remaining reds. That's the easy one out of the way.
40.
If he's got the angle, I don't know if he'll risk playing the cannon into the 2 reds. Probably not.
Little shake of the head tells
46.
me he's come too straight on the red he played for. You can play a run through on the right hand red and just get a little double kiss off the red that's near the cushion. That could bring the cue ball out to give him a chance of pink or black. If he screws back, then he's screwing back towards the jaws of the corner pocket. I'd rather play the run through here. Well, he got in the jaws of the pocket. It'd have been the run through for me. Anyway, it was his decision. Lucky not to go in off in the end. If he pots the pink, he'll go 40 points in front with 43 remaining. Shaun sat there, maybe thinking he'll be getting back to the table with half a chance to win this frame. Good pot on the pink. Needs to run past the brown though, and he has done. And the reason that's important, he can play the double if he likes.
53.
He's eyeing up the double because he knows he can play it with wrist-free, really, and get a good cue ball tight to the ball cushion. He doesn't need the colour, just the red. Just the red. Not quite.
Stuart Bingham, 53.
But I think he'll be quite pleased with the outcome. Big favourite, 39 points in front, 43 remaining. Not quite got the snooker on the red, but Shaun can certainly can't see enough of it to pot it in the left corner. But of course he needs to get it safe. Could just see enough of it, but he's not put Stuart under any real pressure here. Stuart just clip this red along the cushion, you would have thought. Should get a good cue ball. And the more it runs, the better it'll be. The more it runs. And this is a very difficult snooker, I think, because the brown is blocking the one cushion escape. So it is not straightforward now for Shaun. And of course, if he wasn't to get out the snooker, he would go 43 points behind with 43 remaining. As I say, the brown's in the natural one cushion escape, so if he's going to go in between green and brown, you're going to have to play it with a bit of side. He'll do well not to leave a red on here. Now, this is a shot. He's trying to square it up off one cushion. And he did do. That's a tremendous shot. It might not have got him out of trouble, but that was a tremendous shot. Try that at home, play it below centre, hit it as hard as you can into the cushion, and it will check. It won't go its natural way. It will check and straighten up. Well, Stuart will be very disappointed if he's not got the snooker there, but I think he might just have got it. He's in complete control of this situation. Just looking for one more red. He's got the snooker. Oh, and Shaun's hit the green.
Foul. Stuart Bingham, 4.
Now, no miss is called. This is a rule that was brought in a couple of years ago. It was news to me, that if you can tie, then no miss will be called. It's not in the snooker's required stage. Olivia Martil, referee, has got it right. Doesn't really help Stuart much, but at least Shaun Murphy now can only draw if he was to get the last two reds and two blacks. Very close. I'm sure if this red in the middle of the table was possible, Stuart would have a go at it, but it's not. Playing the cross double. He'd love that red to go in. He'd love it to go in! And a quick glance at the scoreboard. 44 points to lead. 35 remaining.
Stuart Bingham, 1.
Missed the pink by a long way. And will encourage Shaun Murphy now to carry on.
Great performance, though, by Stuart Bingham today in his first World Final. 3-0 down 8-4 down, and it looks like he's only going to be 9-8 behind going into tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll endorse that, Stephen. It's been a tremendous performance because Shaun has hit him with some big guns, hasn't he? But he's never lost his belief, Stuart. And it wasn't easy to do, as we say, first final. This is Shaun's third final. 4 hours, just over 4 hours, 40 minutes. And what a treat we've had. Big breaks. And look at the points. 892 Shaun Murphy, 898 Stuart Bingham. We're in for a cracker tomorrow, folks. We really are. Trying to get this cue ball, you would have thought, behind the yellow here. But, well, surely is. Nah, it's easy hit. Come off the side cushion, might have to swerve it a little bit, but I know it's a snooker, but if you can escape this level off one cushion, you wouldn't expect to miss it. In fact, you might even pot it. You might even pot it if you hit it hard enough. If it reaches, it goes in! Don't you just love it? It doesn't matter about the blue. Stuart Bingham, you are a hero. Shaun Murphy has hit him with everything. But Stuart Bingham hung on in there. But Shaun Murphy will take a lead and take a bow, Shaun. Superb play by both players. And there's only one frame in it. What a final day we've got tomorrow. They finished day one. Shaun Murphy 9, Stuart Bingham 8.